Hello, Transurfers and the Transurfing Curious. I'm Renee Garcia. This is TransurfingTV, and this is my video on labeling and how labeling yourself in either a positive direction or a negative direction creates a belief, and how those beliefs create or take away from your potential that then affects your action, that then affects your results, which ultimately reinforce that label or that belief. And the whole thing gets started all over again, and you then have just created a self-fulfilling prophecy. And of course, with Reality Transurfing, we want to create prophecies about our lives and our future that are going to benefit us, right? So this is going to be a little bit of a video kind of calling out maybe some labels that aren't necessarily serving you anymore. So I am going to use myself as an example. So my prior self, pre-transurfing, let's say when I was in my 20s, I had a very, very challenging time in life. Up until my late 20s, I didn't have any means to survive. I didn't have an education. I dropped out of high school. I had no formal training of any kind. I didn't go to college. I didn't have a family business. I literally had no way to make money up until my late 20s. And I worked small jobs, right? I worked waitressing jobs and minimum wage jobs and all that kind of stuff. And this was really just a product, this way of life was a product of my belief system, of my labels. So I grew up in an environment where I left with a lot of labels that did not help me as an adult, right? That I was uneducated, that I wasn't going to ever be anything, that I, was going to be destined for a life of minimum wage jobs and all that kind of stuff. And those labels that I created for myself created my belief system, and my beliefs determined the amount of potential. And I'm not talking about excess potential here. I'm talking about potential of self, what you're actually capable of. And my belief system determined the amount of potential that I had as a person, right? So this potential then is the place that I acted from. So if I felt like I had no potential and I wasn't capable of doing anything more than minimum wage jobs or living paycheck to paycheck or struggling, then I really didn't take any additional action because of my perception of my potential levels, okay? So that lack of action created a result, a product, or a lack of a result that then reinforced my belief. It reinforced my label, right? And I got into a vicious cycle where I couldn't break out of that belief system because I was in the belief cycle that I had no potential, therefore I took no action, I saw no results, and that reinforced the belief, okay? So what I did to change that is I started to acknowledge which labels I was giving myself, which labels were creating which beliefs, and what I needed to replace them with, okay? One of my biggest tips for getting away from negative beliefs or negative labels about yourself is stop thinking about them, stop thinking about what you don't want to see, stop thinking about what you don't want to be or what you don't want to have in your reality anymore, and start thinking in the direction of what you strive to become, what you strive to be, what you strive to have, and simply turn away from all of that stuff that is keeping you in this belief cycle. So again, your current reality, whatever it is you're experiencing right now, is a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is a product of your belief system based on this diagram. So the positive spin on this, right? So I started to create some new beliefs about myself. Let's say I decided that I'm going to stop viewing myself as someone that's never going to have anything. I am going to start thinking of myself as somebody that is going to have something, right? I am capable of this. I can do this. So then when I say that to myself, my potential, my perspective of what potential I have to tap into has just increased. So in that increase, I take action from that space because I believe I have potential. That action then creates a result that's a positive one. That positive result reinforces the belief and the thing gets spinning in a more positive direction. So I'm going to ask you, how have you been labeling yourself? Which labels are hurting you? Okay. And it's time, the first step to really getting this belief cycle going in a better direction is to call out and pinpoint exactly which beliefs you feel are holding you back, minimizing your perspective of potential, right? That is hindering you from taking action and therefore not giving you the results you want to see in life. Also, be careful of identifying with groups of people that have generalized labels. We all kind of do this. Another example for me, me growing up in a lower economic class, right? That lower economic class had a general label that stuck to me like crazy. So I had to call that out. What groups have I been associating with that have created labels that want all the people, the participants, the adherents of the group to wear, right? So do you want to be this person? Of course not, right? But stop thinking about who you don't want to be anymore and start thinking about who you strive to become instead. Start recognizing when you're undermining yourself. Start challenging your label and start asking, like, is this indisputable fact? Or is this just my chosen interpretation? If you have a label that you have been living by, is this a perspective or is there solid evidence in your reality that backs up, that you are destined to always live paycheck to paycheck? Probably not. Do the people in your life agree? So this is where something pretty magical happened for me in my late 20s. I had people actually start saying things to me like, hey, Renee, you're super smart and you're ambitious and you can do something with your life, And this is really the first time I'd ever heard this sort of stuff. So for me, the people in my reality weren't matching up with how I felt about myself. Others outside of me were feeling better about me than I was actually feeling for myself. So I had to take what they were saying as inspiration and grab onto it and be like, okay, other people see it in me, so there might be something there. If you haven't read Reality Transurfing yet, please read that book because Vadim Zeland will say plenty of nice stuff about you in there. And if you're having a challenging time being inspired to connect with the higher version of yourself, this is definitely a way to do it. That's exactly what I did. So I like to really dial in to the higher version of myself via evidence I'm pulling from my reality that confirms that there is, in fact, a higher version of myself. So I'm going to quickly, before we get off this video, I'm going to list a few ways that negative labels can hurt you, and then what positive labels will do for you. So negative labels, the impact of negative labels, self-criticism, and degradation, okay? They restrict your potential by keeping you confined to the negative labels, obviously. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe you're useless, your actions and thoughts will be that of a useless person. You often feel frustrated and unhappy, and often you're unaware that your thoughts are the cause. So if you're questioning why your reality looks like shit right now, it probably has to do with the labels that you've been assigning to yourself. They can cause physical symptoms such as migraines, nausea, anxiety attacks, panic attacks, stomach aches, depression, fatigue, all sorts of ailments. In my opinion, my negative labels from my past exacerbated an autoimmune issue to an extent where I really started to ask myself questions, because I felt that I was doing something to myself. And sure enough, as soon as I started to change my mindset, my autoimmune issue completely cleared up. So a sample of negative labels, or an example, you're ugly, you're stupid, you're weak, you're fat, you're hopeless, you're selfish, you're unworthy, you have no energy, you won't amount to anything, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, anything negative that you tell yourself at all. So what positive labels will do to you? If you think you are hardworking, inspiring, promising, etc., you will be encouraged to achieve more, since these positive words make you feel good about yourself. It'll give you energy. If you believe in yourself, you unconsciously take more risks, which lead to self-development and growth. Oh my God, this is really what's happened for me. I am doing shit now that I never in a million years would have dreamed that I would be doing. Like doing this, being a YouTuber. I was terrified of even just being on camera my whole life, and me applying more positive labels to myself has allowed me to break out of my box of limiting beliefs that were constructed via fear and start taking more risks, because I believe in myself now. Self-encouragement helps you overcome life's challenges and minimizes the stress you feel when faced with the problems we encounter on a daily basis. You are more capable than you give yourself credit for. Same thing. My stress level, my stress response has just completely diminished. I can endure so much more now because I'm telling myself I can handle it. I deal with adversity well, right? Rather than why are things so hard? Why am I always stressed? Why are things never working out? I'm always stressed. I stopped looking at what I didn't want, and I started looking at what I wanted instead. You live up to labels you attach to yourself. If you think you're a winner, even if you're not, you will act and think like a winner until you eventually become one. This is like Wave of Fortune 101. Believe the wave of fortune's going to come, and then the wave of fortune actually comes. People who like themselves are generally kinder and have a more positive outlook. Obviously, those who think of themselves kinder are happier. So you're just going to be a happier person with more positive labels. Examples of positive labels: I'm an achiever, I'm beautiful, I'm creative, I'm compassionate, I'm friendly, I'm capable, I'm intelligent, I'm smart, I'm dynamic, I'm fun, I'm interesting, you get the point. You start applying these things to yourself. This is Alternative Space 101. And then you start highlighting information and material and evidence in your reality that supports those exact feelings about yourself. So to wrap this up, what is this doing for you now? What beliefs and labels are creating what perception of potential? Which action are you taking from that potential? And which results are you seeing? And how are they backing up that belief in either a negative or a positive way? So I challenge everyone to answer some of these questions, start taking taking some of those labels off, replacing them with some new ones, and start building a better belief system for yourself that will create you better results, because that's what we're all looking for, right? So thank you for tuning into my video. Thoughts, comments, questions, and please like this video if you do in fact like it. Bye everybody.